Hi, my name is Vivianna Ballesteros, and today I'll be presenting my TED Talk, The Key to Self-Acceptance. Now I'd like to start off with a question. Have you ever felt self-conscious, not liked who you are, or compared yourself to others? Well, Maya Angelou said, "You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anyone." Now this is true, and you should believe it, but don't worry if you don't, because you might have been just like me. When I was in 7th grade, I did not like who I was internally or externally. I compared myself to others, thinking that they were always better than me. I didn't like how I looked because I thought that I was quote-unquote different. I didn't like how I acted and wanted to change my whole persona. I generally was not accepting of myself at all. I started to feel really self-conscious, and it affected how I lived my everyday life. I'm usually a very happy, positive, upbeat person, but I started to become more shy and quiet. I didn't show who I truly was because I was scared that I was going to be judged by other people. I did not have any self-acceptance. For example, one of my teammates on my swim team is faster than me by milliseconds, literally milliseconds. I trained very hard to beat her, but I could never do it. I couldn't accept that I wasn't better than her and started to freak out every time it came time to race her. But then finally, I stopped. I stopped comparing myself to her because I realized we were both two different people. I started to focus on myself as a swimmer and how I can become better. I didn't care if I was like her because I knew that we were both going to be different. Now, these negative thoughts and actions have not fully left my mind, but I have come a long way. Now, to do this, I've had to change my mindset. I had to realize that we're all going to be different. I stopped comparing myself to other people because I realized that there is no comparison to be held. I was a totally different person than the other person that I was comparing myself to. Once I did this, I saw a drastic change in how I acted. I started to accept myself for who I truly was and started to actually be happy. I didn't care how I looked because I knew that I wasn't going to be perfect, and I was perfectly fine with it. Now you may be asking, how have I come this far? But it was not that easy. According to an online website, Patch, teens tell them every day how overwhelmed and confused they are trying to fit into certain stereotypes. Now many teens this generation are not accepting of who they are and show tons of self-hatred towards themselves. And I'm here to say that we should all be accepting of who we are. But in order to do this, we need to realize that we're all going to be different. People are going to have different personalities, traits, and attitudes that are great, but that does not make yours any less great. You are your own person. You wouldn't want to be just a carbon copy of everybody else. Now, as I've said, many teens this generation feel as though they have to change who they are to fit into certain stereotypes. These stereotypes are not who you are. It is who you think other people want you to become. Be who you are and who you know yourself to be. Now, this key to self-acceptance has helped me a lot through life. I have realized that I am just as special as everybody else and that I don't need to change who I am. And I hope that you guys can as well. So whenever you're starting to feel down and self-conscious, remember that we are all different. By doing this, we can learn to accept who we are for who we truly are. Learn to accept your strengths and weaknesses because they make you who you are. Now, my last point that I would like to bring up are the benefits of self-acceptance. Now, once you start to accept who you are, you will gain tons of confidence, which can even help to inspire others. A quote by Marie Christian Anthony states, "Knowing and accepting your strengths and weaknesses changes how you view yourself. You exude a high level of confidence. Although you know you are not perfect, you are perfectly fine with it." For example, I did not want to do this TED Talk. I did not want to present in front of a huge audience and wasn't accepting of the speech that I had already made. Although I knew that I was one of the top 5 presenters and that I was going to be chosen to do this TED Talk, I let the idea of not being enough and that I had to change my speech get in the way. Obviously, you can see that I'm here today now. That is because I started to accept my speech, and I didn't compare my speech to others because I knew that mine wasn't going to be like theirs. And I hope that you guys can take this into consideration and do it as well. Overall, I think that we all need to be more accepting of who we are. But in order to do this, we need to realize that we're all going to be different, which is what I think is truly the key to self-acceptance. Thank you.